Hello, hello, hello. What's up, Game of Throners and YouTubers? Boy, DJ11 here, back again. It must be Tuesday night. Tonight we got our man, JD the Dragon. How's it going tonight, Jay?
Oh, it's going good, man. Just hanging out, chilling. Was playing some video games till you sent me the link. I was like, well, I got an hour. I'll jump in with him.
Right? Why not get in and start BSing with some Game of Thrones? What's up, Bellamar? How you doing out there? Good to see you. Thanks for showing up, stopping in. We got to jump on a stream together one of these times, and I got a whole bunch of questions about Season 8. It'd be fun to get your opinion on and see what you got.
I know I feel bad. Elamar asked me to be on one of her streams a while back, and I don't know. We just haven't had time to do it.
Yeah, you can be a hard one to track down. I can definitely vouch for that. No doubt about that. It's funny, we're just sitting here talking. I just found one of my old school theory books, and it's like says top 10 predictions, and I was just going over them with JD, and I was like, Bran will warg the Night King, Varys is a black fire, and Sarah is his sister. The dragon has 3 heads, Cersei, Jaime, and Tyrion. The Blackfish is gay, and Jon Arryn was his lover, which is my by far biggest video. It's hilarious. And let's see, Jon Arryn was impotent, Sweet Robin is Littlefinger's son, and Tywin was sterile. And JD was just saying that he may be on the Cersei and Jaime, but no way. Karma's a bitch. Tyrion is Tywin's.
Yeah, the night he got married, the Mad King did take his wife to bed. But after that, he never did it again, in my belief. So Jaime and Cersei are possibly Targaryens because they have the whole incest thing going on, all that. Tyrion, 100% Tywin. He acts like Tywin. He thinks like Tywin. He talks like Tywin, and he's just as ruthless as Tywin.
Well, that just means that he was brought up. Tywin was his dad that was with him his whole life. So
you got to understand, though, he was rejected by him. Tywin didn't take time to hang out with Tyrion.
No, he didn't do that. But Tyrion definitely, he definitely paid attention and watched and learned and followed everything that his father did and basically just imitated him.
Nah.
And it's it's the Targaryens that are always stunted. I mean, they come out with half dragon babies and crippled babies and Melee the monstrous babies, and it's the Targaryens that always have the stunted kids. So that kind of
Tywin is literally sleeping with his cousin, so there's still the chance of the same shit going on.
That's a great point. That is a great point. But definitely, as far as having a chance to, the Mad King's 20th anniversary of being king, his coronation, they had a big tournament, and that is another time, right about the time, that adds up, that Tyrion the Mad King could have hooked up with Joanna, and they could have had another kid, Tyrion.
Nah, I'm still on the boat that Tyrion is Tywin's. Actually, I'm still. There's a chance of it, but it's like in my mind, it's like a 20% chance. I'm still believing the fact that they're all fucking Lannisters, every single one of them.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Not Tyrion.
That's awesome. And I know what was it? Not Joanna Frey, but the Lannister that had to marry the Frey.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, she said, make no doubt about it, it's Tyrion. That's your father's son. That's Tywin's son. So that definitely bodes a lot more in your camp. But I don't know, just the fact that it's the Targaryens that came out kind of stunted and retarded.
Yeah, that's just a property of incest. Period. Whether it's your sister, whether it's your cousin, that's just a property of it. Shit can go wrong, and I believe Tyrion is proof that the Lannisters can do that. Because the Lannisters were literally trying to work on a Targaryen dynasty, except Jaime and Cersei kept theirs hidden for so long.
What's good, OTDA? Good to see you out there. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, you are. Like the odds are definitely in your favor. Let's say that. I'm definitely on the outside looking in, but I don't know. I've always said that. I've always kind of felt that. I think I do. I think Tywin was sterile, and I think all those kids are Targaryens. That's one of my first videos I made, top 10 secret Targaryens. That was hilarious. Back when everybody said I thought everybody was a Targaryen. But on that note, what do you think about my other one? Are you with me on that other one that Varys is a Blackfire?
I don't know, but he does, the one thing about the Red Priests, everything is King's blood has power. King's blood, King's blood, King's blood, King's blood. The dude did cut off Varys' nuts and burn him in a fire and talk to the fucking R'hllor.
And paid a ton of money to do it.
Yeah, so yeah, there's a chance he's a Blackfire. He's definitely royalty of some type. Definitely. And you know, he is all about Westeros, so and what's good for the realm. He reminds me a lot of Bloodraven and how he acted. He's not as ruthless as Bloodraven. He's more cunning than Bloodraven was, but he does do a lot of the same type of shit. He'll wipe out entire families to make sure the realm continues to be good. So,
do you believe that's what it's about? Do you believe he's in favor for the realm?
He is in favor of what's good for the realm, but is his understanding of what's good for the realm actually good for the realm? Do you see what I'm saying there? Anybody, it's just like any presidential candidate that gets up there and goes, "This is good for the country," or "That's good for the country," no matter what side of the party they run on. But what they see as good for the country isn't always good for the country. You know?
I believe, yeah, I do. But I believe Varys is very cunning, and Varys has an overall master plan. And,
he does. In the book, it's Fagon. It's to put Illyrio's son Aegon on the throne. That's his plan.
So you believe that Fagon is fake?
Yes, I believe he's a Blackfire. I believe he's a Blackfire.
You believe Fagon is a Blackfire through Sarah?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's Illyrio's son for sure?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that too. It has to be.
He's a what the hell is it? Illyrio Mopatis or whatever his last name. Yeah, he's a Mopatis and a Blackfire. And he's trying to revenge his family. So yeah, and John Connington, I think, has been tricked.
Absolutely.
And I think when he figures out that he's not a true Targaryen, kick his ass.
That's when he dies. Supposedly, every time Tyrion in the books, when Tyrion was talking to Illyrio, he had just too many big questions that kind of brushed off, you know?
Yeah.
And first of all, there's no way that Varys took Aegon out of the crib and saved him. There's no way. When he went down to talk to Ned in the black cells, he's like, "What do you see when you see me? Do you see a hero?" No. He's not brave. He's not a hero. He's not taking any kind of chances that.
He's just cunning. He knows how to keep his head on his shoulders.
Yeah. If he was going to save the boy, why not save the boy, the girl, and the wife for that fact? Why would he let any of them just sit there and be slaughtered? That doesn't even make sense.
But, like you said, at that point in time, he knew of a baby that was close enough to a family tie that he could use it with Illyrio behind him.
And that comes in. He's like, he talks about Illyrio and how they met, or Illyrio talks about how they met. And he's like, "Oh, for some reason he favored me. And so, he started stealing from me and we became a team, and just happenstance." Come on. That was
but you have a spice trader and a Mummer, those two those together, they both have very good silver tongues. They're both very smart, and they've both built themselves up. Yes, Varys was probably stealing for Illyrio, but what was he stealing? And how did they actually meet,
Well, that's just it. We know that Varys ended up leaving the jewels and the gold for lesser thieves, and he taught his little birds, who used to be called little mice, he taught them how to read the ledgers and the notes. He wanted to steal the information.
He wanted power.
Exactly.
And how do you get power? You get blackmail on top of people. You get the numbers that they're pushing, and you push different numbers. Oh, this guy's selling grain for this much, I can sell it for this much and make more money because I'm selling it at a cheaper cost.
Do you think maybe some of those letters that he found, some were from the Mad King, who didn't trust anybody on his side, who was maybe reaching out to nobles over in Myr on the other side, trying to get their help, and maybe that's how Varys knew to be able to contact him and he'd be able to hook up? Because why would the Mad King just, "Oh, I hear this guy's a good spy master, let me get..." That's kind of bull. If you're a good spy master, nobody's going to know it's you really that's spying.
No, he had. I think Varys had been working for the crown longer than we know. I think he actually figured out who the Mad King was, how he could get in with the Mad King, and started playing the game.
I think it was a play on words, what you just said right there. He was working for the crown longer than we know, as in working to get that crown and put it on who he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when he was talking to the Red Viper in the throne room, and he was like, "Do you like girls? No. Do you like boys? No." He's like, it's better for no desires. He's like, "Well, what do you want?" He just looks up at the throne and then bows his head and walks away.
Mm-hmm.
So Varys' whole plan is to get somebody on the throne.
That was probably one of my funnest times when it came to the books, was Littlefinger and Varys trying to outdo each other to see who they could get. Now, the same Varys never wanted to be king, but he wanted somebody that he could use with his manipulations. But he would be the manipulator of ashes and the king of nothing, while Varys still wanted somebody to control.
Do you think there's any chance at all that Varys wanted to crown himself?
That Varys wants to crown himself?
No. Varys wants to sit the throne. Do you think he has any aspirations himself?
No, I don't. I think he loves being the advisor. That's what he loves to do. He loves to advise kings.
Let somebody else be the lightning rod.
Mm-hmm.
I've always
somebody else.
I've just always said that. I mean, I came out, one of my first videos, I was like, Illyrio and Sarah were married. Sarah and Varys were brother and sister. That's how Illyrio and Varys met. They got their little network up, and they basically, Sarah and Illyrio had a kid, and now Varys and Illyrio have been scheming to put that kid on the throne. I mean, that's become pretty widespread. Everybody thinks that.
Yeah,
not everybody, but a lot of people.
It's very, very popular. I don't know about Varys being Illyrio's brother-in-law, but they do have a deep connection. It might be from childhood. It might be, who knows? Who knows what their actual connection is? We know Varys has king's blood. Red Priest burnt his balls. But he is definitely wanting to put Fagon on the throne, because I think he knows he can have the pull to do it. He can play that game. He can be in Fagon's ear because of who Fagon is.
You think? I think he might even be in some way. The more I've been thinking about it lately, I've been thinking he might be related to like Melee or the Monstrous or whatever. Maegor the Monstrous.
Yeah.
The Blackfire, the last Blackfire rebellion, the one who fell that Barristan slew.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might have been related to him just for the fact that guy was one of the last one, or who was it who said only a Targaryen, only the seed of the dragon will ever know the secrets of the Red Keep, all the back trails and secret alleys of the back, behind the Red Keep. That's how he hears everybody and sneaks through and hears everybody in the whatever.
Hold that thought. I just want to tell Andy to get to feeling better. He had surgery today and is in the hospital. So, dude, get to feeling better, buddy.
Absolutely. Oh, Snafu made it in. Absolutely. Everybody throw some love Snafu's way. He had his knees, had surgery. Glad to see you're able to have fun in the chat.
All right.
But hopefully you're high as a kite on some good pills and not feeling any pain. Oh, what's up? We'll see Bubba Husky made the chat. What's up, buddy? Good to see you out there. Yeah, feel better, Andy. Definitely we'll get back at it next week. Varys sees the true power is in the advisors.
You think about it. If it ain't gonna happen, but by some chance, if Fagon got on the crown, Illyrio's gonna be like, "You need to listen to Varys. He will teach you how to run the realm." And Varys is gonna pull the strings that he wants to pull, and Fagon's gonna go along with it because he was told to.
So, who is Fagon in the book?
He's a Blackfire. Fagon in the book is a Blackfire.
So what Blackfire? You think that's Sarah and Illyrio's son?
Mm-hmm.
And you think basically they went in and tricked John Con into saying that this is the plot and we need you to watch.
Yeah,
I like that.
I think that's the whole, because you listen to John Connington in the books is very convinced that he is Aegon Targaryen. is the Mad King's son. I mean, he is convinced of who he is, to the point where he's dyed in the kid's hair, the whole 9 yards, and he's behind him, and he's a Kingsman. Well, unfortunately, he's on the wrong side of the family. He's on the cousin's.
I'm almost thinking, oh yeah, there's it's like, here we go. I'm almost thinking that, you know, like I said, I think this whole story gets broken down at the Tower and Joy and Harrenhal. That's going to be like 80-85% of where everything gets answered. But I think, you know, I already said, you know, there's a baby swap. There's 2 babies at Tower of Joy. I believe Ashara Dane definitely had one of those babies. And I think Ned took one of the babies. And I think Ashara Dane took the other baby. Ned took Ashara Dane and this baby back to Starfell. There's no way Ned Stark just takes a sword back to Starfell. He would have sent his men with it. Like, there's no way, with all this going on, just getting done with the war, got married to get back to. I mean, there's just no way he just goes to Starfell to return Dawn. He's returning Ashara Dane and the baby. They come up with a plot. They're not just going to be like, oh, thanks for the sword and thanks for killing the greatest swordsman that ever lived. We're going to name the next Lord of Starfell after you, you know, a la a.k.a. Edric Dane. It's like, there's no way. He came up with a plan. He's like, look, this is what we need to do to keep everybody alive. I'm going to take Jon with me, lie, say that he's mine. Ashara, we're going to fake your death. We'll tell everybody that you jumped off a Starfell. You're going to take this baby across the way. And I think that Septa Lemore, I mean, she's an older, more beautiful woman that's had a child. And Tyrion, I mean, she's like beautiful, beautiful. Tyrion is infatuated with her. And Tyrion's been with plenty of women, and he's infatuated with her. So I am positive that Septa Lemore is Ashara Dane, and that Fagon is either her kid or Lyanna's kid. How crazy is that?
I agree with Andy right here. DJ's head is full of tinfoil foil. That's why he wears regular hats. No, no, I think because before the war broke out, Ned and the Danes had a very strong bond. I mean, they had such a strong bond that it was to the point where they were trying to marry Ned to Ashara, and they both wanted it, and then Brandon got killed.
How do we know all this?
It's in the books.
What's in the books?
Ned wanting Ashara.
Oh, yeah, everybody wanted Ashara. She was pretty much the most beautiful maiden in the land.
Yeah, but she also was infatuated with Ned. Ned was just very shy. I think if Ned would have had balls, he could have ended up with Ashara, but that plan got shot to shit when Brandon died. So I think out of respect is the reason he took that sword back. It was all respect, nothing else. Because that's a family sword.
Why were the Kingsguard? Oh, this is definitely my next thing. It's pretty sweet. I've never heard anybody talk about it. I can't go too deep because I got to save it for my next video. Basically, why do you think the king? Why do you think? I mean, you just think it's to guard the next king. Why is the Kingsguard at the Tower of Joy?
Well, let's see. You're supposed to be defending your king, so you are with Rhaegar. Okay, I get that.
But they're not with Rhaegar. Rhaegar's not there.
Well, no, you let me finish. So you went with Rhaegar to protect him this whole time that Lyanna kidnapped him and used him for sex. I'm still convinced that Lyanna kidnapped Rhaegar.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm with you.
Anyway, so Rhaegar brings you with him. So you're protecting him while this whole marriage and honeymoon and everything's going down. They get the news that Robert Baratheon is advanced to the throne. Rhaegar goes, well, I guess I'm going to war. Stay here with my wife and stay here with my kid. Protect the king, the future king. That's why they stayed. They stayed because their king at the time gave him the order to stay and protect the future king. That's why they stayed.
I want to say it so bad, but I've never heard this theory, and I got to save it for my video, but I'm just dying to break out. It's like, dude, they say it the whole time, and I've never, like, realized what they were really saying. Like, oh, my God. But yeah, it's gonna be my next video. It'll be out.
But also, it's a fever dream. And how often can you trust fever dreams?
That's true. That is true.
So there could be a lot of things that didn't happen that were in Ned's head.
Do you think there's any chance at all that Viserys and Dany aren't brother and sisters?
No, I believe they're brother and sister. I think they're 100%. Yeah, I think they're 100% brother and sister.
Why? I mean, why would he have enough love to save her and feed her and take her house to house, but then treat her so bad and look her right in the eye and be like, I would let the Khal and all 40,000 of his tribes fuck you if it would get me. Like, no.
But you got to realize through what he went through. So you got Viserys and what he went through, everything, the whole 9 yards, the death of his father, the death of his mother, giving birth to his sister, having to raise his sister from a very young age. Dude, I've watched this with friends and close family that when they hit adulthood, they kind of reverberate backwards in their life. Like they go backwards. So to Viserys, he's like, okay, she's grown, she can take care of herself, but now it's my turn to get what I want. So what I want is the crown and she's the price. And so he made a deal. He had taken care of her for so long that he's like, no, it's my turn. And this is it.
And it was kind of, I mean, she did kind of turn her back on him and be like, oh, nope, I'm the Khaleesi now. Now you get below me. And he's like, I have kept you alive and dragged you from castle to castle and kept you in hide. And you're going to treat me like this? Like, what?
See,
like,
and I think if they would have been out of Vastarock, of Dothrock, Vastarock, whatever the fuck it's called.
Vastarock.
Yeah. And wouldn't have produced a sword, he wouldn't have died. But he produced a sword. And at that point in time, Dany really didn't have any pull because you're not allowed to have weapons inside that city. And that was it. That he was done. And
she was done the second he threatened that baby, the Khal's son.
Yeah. Yeah. But you also can't have a sword inside the city. So there's two major offenses you pulled against a people and their king. You're dead, dude. I think if they were outside of it, if he wouldn't have threatened the baby, there's a chance he'd have lived. But threatening a baby and pulling a sword inside a sacred city, you're dead, dude. There's no chance. No matter who you are. Does not matter who you are.
Yeah, they were kind of done with it. We got Snafu saying, if you believe that, you are going to lose your life and the Mad King will fall. Unless that says fail and I can't see it. You would want to ensure that the next line is protected. Okay, the Mad King will fall, and you'd want to make sure the next in line is protected. But the next in line is Viserys, so that makes no sense at all.
Well, actually, at that point in time, technically, the next in line would have been Rhaegar because he didn't know Rhaegar was dead yet.
Who didn't know Rhaegar was dead yet?
King. You got to realize, while Robert was fighting Rhaegar, Jaime and the Lannisters were going to protect the king, and Jaime stabbed him in the back. He didn't know Rhaegar was dead yet.
Jaime didn't know that Rhaegar was dead?
Oh,
the Mad King didn't. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. You got Rhaegar, you got Viserys, you got a lot of people in line is my whole point before.
Well, yeah. Of course, after Rhaegar, it goes to Viserys.
So it's like, I mean, there's a lot of other people they should have been protecting over this so-called next in line baby that's not even
but you're already there and you're getting orders from that future king. So are you gonna not take those orders?
But I'm saying, why would those be the order? I don't think those are the orders is my whole point. Why would they be the orders?
Because Rhaegar wanted to make sure nothing happened to his kid. He knew Ned Stark would come after his sister. Especially once he figured out where she was.
Oh, I can't wait to put this video on. I want to say it so bad. Oh my god. It would just be like swing. But anyway, right on. We got Bubba Husky saying, but if it's Rhaegar's brother and she's his daughter, he'd lie to her about it because she's got a better claim than him. Not really, because in Westeros there's really no women that are ahead of the men, regardless of older or not.
No, not even proven in Fire and Blood.
Yeah, I mean, that's all the way back to that Dance of the Dragons shit.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another question. Why don't more people talk about what a badass fucking Ned is? Like, everybody, when you talk about the greatest warriors and toughest, best swordsmen and battlemen and all these, Ned never comes up. Like, I've maybe heard one person talk about Ned.
Ned's not boastful. Ned's not cocky. He's none of that. And he doesn't go around parading what he's done or what he did or what he's going to do. Ned literally, this is what I got to do. It's done. But on to the next.
The facts are out there. Ned doesn't have to say anything. Ned, I mean, it's widespread known. They don't know what exactly happened, but it's widespread known that Ned killed Arthur Dane, the greatest swordsman that ever walked the planet. Killed Arthur Dane. Then you take it back a few years later, and he's going through the Robert's Rebellion, and freaking Robert Baratheon, everybody claims one of the greatest warriors of all time.
Beaten, destroyed at that point in time. Yeah. Hiding in the city.
I'm just saying, Robert, one of the greatest battlers and warriors of all time, he gets hurt. He's down and out. He can't move. Sir Barristan the Bold, everybody claims one of the greatest battlers of all time. He freaking down and out, can't move. Robert has to send his maester to save him over him. He's so messed up. Yep. Rhaegar, supposedly one of these great battlers, he dies. But who walked out and who's still rolling and who's basically untouched and unscathed? Ned freaking Stark. That's who. So, and even later when he's a lot older and him and Jaime are in the street, he was holding his own against Jaime, who's a prodigy swordsman. So he has battled the best, and he walked out unscathed. The only reason he really lost to Jaime was because one of Jaime's guys stabbed him in the back of the leg. So why don't more people talk about what a badass Ned Stark was?
I think it's just because of who Ned is. He's quiet. He's humble. Jaime boasts about his accomplishments every time. Something happens, Jaime talks about it. Robert, when something happened, Robert talked about it. The people around Robert talked about it. When Ned did it, it was done. It was over with. It wasn't a talking point for him. It wasn't something he needed to do to build himself. The best thing about Ned, thing that I loved about Ned is Ned who knew who Ned was, and that was as good as it was going to get, and that was who he's going to be forever. He wasn't going to change. And that's why when you find out about Jon Snow, it actually made my respect for Ned grow even more, because he lived this lie of having a bastard son that he never had.
Yeah, I don't know. Did Sir Arthur Dane have to brag about being great? Did Sir?
Yeah, but he was also
brag about being great.
Yeah, but he was also a White Cloak. His story.
So was Jaime, but yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it seems like out of all these themes and all these times you hear people, I've never heard very many people talk about what a pimp Ned Stark is. This is the only man who has walked through the story unscathed until he got caught up trying to save his daughters. How are we not talking about him as one of the greatest?
I don't know, because history writes about the boastful and the winners, and Ned doesn't boast at all. I mean, literally, when it was all said and done, he could have been the king's right-hand man. He could have been everything. Stood right at fucking Robert Baratheon's side, and he went, I'm going home. Have a nice life. Peace. And he went home. Call me if you need me. And he left. And he did not become the king's hand until Jon Arryn died.
Right. I mean, Robert asked Jon Arryn. That was basically their father figure. I mean, that's basic. I mean, either one could have taken it.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, Jaime even said Ned could have taken it. Jaime would have stood up and let Ned take the throne. Robert said Ned could have taken the throne. He's like, you had the better claim. I mean,
he's like, yeah, but the same time he goes, you'd have hated it more than I do.
True.
I don't think Ned would have liked being king. He hated being king of the hand.
No, of course. And I mean, it wasn't for him. I'm just saying he has all this respect. Like, Jaime would have stepped up and stepped out of the way. Robert's like, hey, you could have taken it just as easy as I could. I mean, this guy has so much respect to being, and the only reason Robert took it is from strength. The only reason Aegon the Conqueror took it was from strength.
Yeah.
Ned Stark had all the strength. Everybody else is laid up and all messed over, and Ned Stark is still walking tall.
But it was Robert's rebellion. It had Ned Ned went to war because of what happened to his sister.
The singers call it Robert's Rebellion because Robert's the one who took the throne. You bet your damn ass if it would have been Eddard up there, it would have been Eddard's Rebellion. Believe that.
You know,
that's just the ass the throne.
Eddard lost more than anybody in that whole situation. He lost his father, he lost his brother, and he lost his sister.
Absolutely.
I mean, and to come out as humble as Ned was, that's difficult. That just shows you the character of the person he is.
Right. Yeah, I mean, would you still consider Ned Stark one of the most honorable men in the story?
Oh, yeah. 100%. Probably the most honorable man. You know, George claims to write a lot of great characters, but I would say there's a lot of them that are very great, but if you had to do two that are completely different, Ned Stark on the good side, Euron Greyjoy on the evil. One's good, one's white. There's no gray. There is no gray between those. It's good and bad, period. In the story.
Bubba Husky says they fought the war because Ares 2 called for Robert and Ned's head.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, basically, once they snipped it. But, I mean, you don't go – once Brandon goes storming into the Capitol and you know it's a Mad King already and you go storming into the Capitol demanding the Mad King's son and heir, what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah.
Of course you're going to get snatched up. I mean, that is just ridiculous.
It don't even matter. It wouldn't have mattered if the king was mad or not. I guarantee if Ares was sitting on the throne, not mad, not gone crazy out of his head because of the Boltons, just the regular king he was before everything went south, if Brandon still would have walked in there and asked for Rhaegar's head, dude, shit would have went south quick.
Real quick.
You don't ask for the heir's head. It doesn't work that way.
No, not at all.
The king might have been like, I'll find my son, and then we'll have answers. But if you ask for his head again, I'll kill you. There might have been a little bit different outcome, but at the same time, it still wouldn't have been pleasant. They'd probably have been jailed at the minimum. Lashings.
Yeah. What's Snafu talking about? I'm so bad with names, but I am pretty sure she is the reason why we say, what's that, DJ?
Who?
Oh, that's classic. But yeah, I don't know. I think, like I said, I can't wait to put out my next video about why the Kingsguard is there at the Tower of Joy and what's really going on with that situation. So you don't think there's any way that Dany was born at the Tower of Joy and the storm that she was born in was the Storm of Swords?
Sorry, what was that?
I said, you don't think there's any way that Dany was born at the Tower of Joy and the storm that she was born in was the Storm of Swords?
No. I think she was born in the middle of a storm.
She was a Storm of Swords.
No, legitimate storm.
Only death can pay for life, and the Kingsguard dying outside paid for her life to be born.
Possibly.
There's
a lot of things when it comes to this story that you read and you guess at because George laid it out, and there's a lot of things that were laid out in black and white that a lot of people guess at that don't need to be guessed at.
What was laid out in black and white?
Dany is 100% laid out in black and white.
What?
You don't need to guess her. She is. That's it. What has happened in her life is exactly what's happened in her life.
She's been lied to her entire life. She's been told that she got taken to Bravos, and that's where the lemon tree and red door is. We know that's bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Bravos.
But that doesn't mean it wasn't. That was still her life. You know, that just because she was lied to doesn't mean that it's not her life.
Puts everything up for question. The fact that we know she's been lied to puts everything up for debate.
No. Yeah. Okay. So one, she went to Dorne.
That's far from black and white.
She went to Dorne. Big deal. Doesn't
What's
prove
that?
much. She went to Dorne. Okay. She'll figure that out eventually. But actually, there was an interview with George where he said that was a mistake in writing. That was an error.
How many people do you think instantly started plotting to overthrow Robert Baratheon once he took the throne?
Oh, I bet a lot of them.
I mean, we know for a fact the Tyrells.
A lot of kings. No matter That's a proven fact through fire and blood that every king that's ever sat the throne, somebody wanted to overthrow him. When Robert took the throne, yeah, the Lannisters didn't because they had a golden ticket into the throne. They got to put their family on the throne, so that was already taken care of. That was their way of unseating Robert Baratheon. The Tyrells wanted to do it by force. Dorne wanted to do it by force. It just depends on what you want and who you want. It wouldn't have mattered if Ned would have taken the freaking throne, somebody would have wanted to kick him off. That's just how being a king works.
Well, yeah, the Tyrells were going to want to up jump anybody that took it because that's what they are. They just kept reaching higher and higher and higher. You think so? The Danes were probably another house that was plotting, don't you think?
Probably, especially after the death of Arthur.
Well, I mean, they're just that, and they're huge Targaryen supporters. I mean, they always have been.
They're not just Targaryen supporters; they're the blood of old Volantis.
Valeria?
Or Valeria. That's Valeria. It. I don't know why I said Volantis, but yes, I was listening to another book with his name, but Valeria. I
believe that is a very common mistake. If I remember correctly, the Danes are not Valerian. Matter of fact, I'm willing to bet a lot of money on that. From what I've read and heard, I do not believe it's a common misconception because of their blonde hair and purple eyes. But from what my understanding, the Danes are not Valerian.
That's the first time I've ever heard anybody say that.
Them apples, people. How about how many people out there just went, what?
That's the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah, I know. I was kind of blown away by that too. But yeah, if you read, I can't remember where it is, but it says specifically, I got to go back and do my homework. I'll try to figure that out. But yeah, it said somewhere, yeah. Although common misconception because of their hair and eye color, the Danes are not from Old Valyria, which is crazy. But yeah, so yeah, the Danes are not Valyrian supposedly, which means not dragon riders or whatever. But yeah, they are obviously with Arthur Dayne being the Kingsguard and all that. They are Targaryen supporters.
They are huge Targaryen supporters. They always have been.
And we know so the Tyrells were up against them. We know the Greyjoys were, I mean, instantly, anytime they could, would try to get back and rebel at them.
Yeah, but that's just being a pirate. You see something weak, you're going to take it. That's just being pirates. That's what the Greyjoys are. You can't put the Greyjoys any other way than they're pirates. They can't grow their own food. They live on the rocks, and they sell ships, and they sack and rape and pillage. They're pirates. When you see weakness in a realm, you're going to play your card. And they're not weak pirates. The Greyjoys are a very strong family.
Oh, absolutely.
Very, very hard to beat them at sea.
Yeah, if you're going to, just beat the other pirates and the other freaking...
The only person that ever beat the Greyjoys at sea was Stannis Baratheon. And that's because he laid a trap.
Right. Feel Stannis. Just Stannis the Menace. Is he going to come back as a white and mess some people up?
No.
He said no. Is he even really dead?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. What about like how in the books, how they say that? Like, they're like, even if you hear that I'm dead, it's your responsibility to put my daughter on the throne no matter what you hear. Doesn't that kind of seem like maybe he was plotting to fake his own death in the first place?
No, that's two different stories, though. It's two different stories.
Yeah, we talked about
in the books, he's still alive, and he'll do anything for his daughter. It's not going to be him that commands his daughter being burnt. He won't even be close to Melisandre or his wife or his daughter. That ain't going to happen. On the show,
they're still at Eastgate, right?
They're headed to Eastgate.
Yeah,
they just left the wall and were headed to Eastgate when Stannis went south towards Winterfell.
Right.
So what's going to happen? This is what's going to happen in the book. Is Melisandre is going to eventually see that Stannis is going to be defeated in battle, and the sacrifice is going to be his daughter for him to win, or to come back to life. And you have the pink letter. Well, what it is, you have the pink letter that Stannis is dead. Jon just got stabbed. Melisandre's going to hear the news. She's going to go, here's your sacrifice, and Jon Snow's going to come back to life. Stannis is not dead. When this happens, he'll still be alive.
So you think maybe it's, oh, wow, how sick would that be? I never heard of that or thought about that. But what if that's how Melisandre dies? She says that, you know, on the show, she says, you and I both have to die in the strange land of Varys. What if she sacrifices Shireen and she's like, to bring back your chosen one, Lord of Light, but it's Jon Snow who just got killed, and that's the chosen one. So when she sacrifices Shireen, only death can pay for life. It's Jon Snow who comes back alive, but Stannis really wasn't dead. He comes back and finds out you just burned my daughter, and basically he's the one that killed the Red Queen. Boom!
I think Stannis. I think by the time Stannis learns that his daughter's been killed by Melisandre will be his last battle, and he'll die in it.
You think what'll be his last battle?
The last battle he'll fight at the Trident on his way towards King's Landing, and that's where he's going to die. I think he'll take Winterfell. It's when
Stannis is going to take Winterfell?
It's when he gets to the Two Towers, and that's where he's going to die.
Why would he die at the Twin Towers? What's
because he's trying to cross the river.
And the Freys kill Stannis?
No, they'll have an army waiting for him there. It's not going to be the Freys. Well, the Freys will be a part of it, yes, but it won't be all Freys because he's going to defeat the Boltons and the Freys because the Manderleys are going to change sides. The Manderleys are going to join.
Right.
They're going to let the Freys attack first at Stannis. And the Bolton men. The Manderleys are going to come up from behind, and Stannis is going to come from the front. Bam. That's wiped out. Then they take Winterfell over. When Stannis leaves Winterfell and goes to cross the river towards King's Landing, that's when he's going to his army's going to get destroyed.
Interesting. I like that. But I like mine better. That could be when he dies. But I think he is definitely going to be. I've never thought about that till that second right there. I think Stannis is going to kill Melisandre. Melisandre is going to try. She's going to sacrifice Shireen to bring back the Lord of Light's chosen one, who she thinks is Stannis, who's fallen. Stannis has just laid a trap, acting like he was dead, but he won't be dead, and that's probably how he gets into Winterfell to slay the Boltons. And that's why he told that one guy, no matter what you hear, if I'm dead or not, it's your job to make sure my daughter sits there.
What the hell? Masty? Right? Was it Masty you told that
Masty, yeah, something Masty.
Masty.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem. It's been 2-3 years since I've listened to a Song of Ice and Fire.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a while, dude. Some information gets jumbled in my head, don't get me wrong, but 90% of it I'm still pretty good on.
And, you know, they start putting out all those extra chapters. You know, I don't know if it's the Theon. Yeah, the Theon chapter when we finally see, oh, my God, it was Stannis that wrote the pink letter. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and then you get the Forsaken. That was just intense with Euron Greyjoy.
Bubba says the Crofters are a bunch of ice holes. Oh, that's awesome. What's up, Monty G? Welcome. Good to see you out here. Glad you made it in tonight.
Hey, man, I got to get up at 6, and it's 10:30, so I got to bounce out of here. So
thanks for stopping in. Appreciate it. And we will definitely be talking to you soon. Everybody who hasn't, make sure they get over to JD's channel and make sure you sub him because he's telling stories and doing all sorts of cool shit over there. So make sure you check him out, JD the Dragon.
Take it easy, guys. I hope you all have a good night. Peace.
Thanks for stopping in, buddy. So, yeah, we got to go back to, I guess, with the way I named this. Should have got a JD to say that before he went real quick. But Varys Winterfell in the endgame. So, like I was saying, I think Varys is Sarah's sister. There's no way that he is what he's saying. There's no way. You never trust a spider. And there's no way that he wants what's best for the realm. Tywin and Rhaegar, basically, that's the whole reason the tournament at Harrenhal got set up. Was because they were going to basically overthrow and unseat the Mad King because the Mad King was mad. And they were going to put Rhaegar on the throne. And Rhaegar would have been a completely just and great king. And why would Varys thwart all that? The Mad King had not left the Red Keep in ages. You know, he was crazy. He was all freaked out. He didn't let any blades around him. And he didn't leave the Red Keep. But Varys whispered in his ear, if you don't go, they're going to overthrow you and that'll be curtains for you. And that's basically the only reason that he ever left. So why would Varys do that if he wants what's best for the realm? Varys wants chaos, is what Varys wants. That's why when we see in Game of Thrones and when we see in the book and the show, you see, Arya's down there chasing the cat, and you see Varys and Illyrio walking through, and they're like, basically, the time is now. And Illyrio's like, I say, you know, let's make everything happen. And Varys is like, you say go fast, I say we need to stall and wait out. And he's like, and the other thing is with that, he said, Illyrio said, if one hand can die, why not the other? And it was Varys who said, this hand is not the other, which makes me think, is it Varys and Illyrio that killed Jon Arryn? And just basically Lysa was made to think she did it, or like Littlefinger trying to take credit because nobody else knew? So, I mean, why would Illyrio say, if this hand can die, why not the other? Is it only because he knew that the other guy was poisoned? Or was it freaking Varys and Illyrio who freaking poisoned Jon Arryn? I'm kind of almost leaning that way. And I mean, again, if you've read the book, spoilers, but everybody who comes here knows this is all about spoilers, so you already know. But in the end, how does freaking Dance of Dragons end? It ends with Varys killing Keevan Lannister because he's starting to right all the chaos. All the chaos that Cersei and these guys had going on, Keevan Lannister is starting to set right. So what does Varys do? He gets his little birds and he lights them up and kills him. He kills him because he does not want what's best for the realm. He wants chaos in the realm until, like we were talking earlier, either he can take the throne or he can put another Blackfire on the throne, which, like we said, I think Varys, again, you guys came in late or what, just getting in here. I think Varys and Sarah were brother and sister. Sarah married Illyrio. Illyrio and Varys became friends, and that's how they all hooked up, and that's how this all started. So basically, Sarah and Illyrio had a son. Those are the clothes that Tyrion, if you read the books, those are the clothes that Tyrion was wearing on the way to Meereen to see Dany, was basically telling, where'd he get these kids' clothes that fit Tyrion? He must have had a son. Him and Sarah had a son. That's who Varys is trying to put on the throne. So I think that's what's happening. There's no way Varys wants what's good for the throne. And Varys wants chaos. Illyrio wants chaos until they can put their person on the throne, because Varys is a Blackfire, and never say die. The Blackfires have been trying to get that throne back ever since Bittersteel's first rebellion. So I think that is Varys' whole end game. So what is, I mean, obviously D&D have strayed so far off the beaten path that, yeah, George, I just read an interview today. George doesn't even know how it finished. He said they were on their own. He didn't help them. Like way back when they told him where the end game was, but those guys have strayed so different. And there's basically people that are dead that really can't be dead because they have big parts to play. So who knows how this thing's going to end compared to the books. But yeah, the end game with Varys in the books is going to be trying to put a Blackfire back on the throne, because that's what Blackfires do. They rebel against Targaryens or whoever is on the throne and try to put a Blackfire back on the throne. So that's Varys' whole plan. What's he doing at Winterfell, and what is D&D going to do with him? I mean, he's sitting in the crypts like a little girl. We know, I mean, like he said down in the black cells with Ned, what do you see when you see me? Do you see a hero? No. But the fact that Jon Snow was in there saying that he's going to get 12-year-old, little boys and girls to be fighting. I mean, every living body needs to fight against the dead war coming. How is Varys not out there swinging something? I mean, is he going to try to plot with the Mad King? And that fact, again, everybody else, 12-year-old girls are going to be out there fighting, but Varys is going to be sitting down in the crypts, which leads me to ask the question, did Varys understand what the fire said when that warlock cut his parts and threw it in the fire, and he said the fire spoke back? And when even in the show, when he's telling Tyrion the story, he said it's not getting cut that makes him have nightmares. It's not the warlock that he thinks about that has nightmares. It's the flame, the blue flame that spoke, that gives him nightmares. So I mean, yeah, that would creep you out, but I mean, if it was me, I would think getting cut would be the worst part of this whole situation, even with Flames talking, but I don't know, that's just me. So that leads me to ask the question, did Varys understand what the Flames said? And did the Flames say something about the end game? And is the end game this thing with the Night's King coming to Winterfell? Is Varys ready for this, and or does he have a plan for what's coming? Oh, I wish I had somebody on the panel with me to answer that one. Because, yeah, I mean, that's what it's starting to look like to me. So we got Bubba Husky out there saying, so why is Jon Snow the only bastard who has a description that doesn't resemble their father, either hair or eyes? Because Jon Snow isn't Ned's son, and early on we weren't supposed to know anything about Jon's father, so they had to keep that a secret. So I would say that's why there's no description for that. That mandolin. Ooh, I'm talking. Throat's getting dry. I think Varys knows he has to sacrifice himself. Wow. And that's what the blue flame voice said. I like it. It makes sense why the sorcerer would say, I want you to die. He meant it really. He wanted him to die. Huh. I remember because when he threw him out, I mean, the sorcerer obviously heard all that, and the sorcerer said, you should just kill yourself now. But the way the book kind of wrote it, it was like, basically, I just chopped off your manhood. There's no reason for you to live anymore. You should just kill yourself. No, I think he said that because he heard what that blue flame said, and he knows what's in store for Varys. And basically, that's Varys is a big part of this endgame. And that's, again, how you know that he has king's blood. I mean, why else would he be a big part? Why else would that guy pay so much money for him specifically and chop his man parts and throw it into the fire? Basically, Varys has king's blood, and this guy must have heard a rumor or a legend about a prophecy, and Varys was that prophecy, and it came true. And that's why that guy said, you should just kill yourself because you don't want nothing. You don't want none of that. So I don't know. Like I said, we got 12-year-old boys and girls up there that are supposed to be fighting, you know, this army of the dead coming, but Varys is just sitting in the crypts, chilling and crying and waiting for what? What is he literally just waiting for the doom to come? I mean, nothing. If nothing else, if that was his plan, it seems like he would have got out of there. So what is his end game? Does he think he's going to be able to bargain with the Night's King and be able to, I mean, I don't know. What is Varys even doing up there? Like I said, in the books, there's no way all these people end up in Winterfell. This is just fanfare this is Hollywood. I mean, you need all these actors. They're not dead. You don't want to have a bunch of different places that you have to get a whole bunch of people to and pay for all that. The cheaper way to do it is just put everybody on the same set, the same scenes, and get everybody in one place, which is what they've done. But they all gonna die, in my opinion. In my opinion. What do we got going on in the chat? Bubba Husky, even Bittersteel had purple eyes like his father. Bittersteel was absolutely a Targaryen. He was one of the first great bastards. Him, Seastar, Bloodraven, those were all the great bastards. They were first and foremost. Moni J, see, it seems to me Littlefinger and Varys were behind the scenes guys. I was Team Varys. Team Varys is evil, Moni. He's going to have some bad stuff coming up. Night DA, night Bub. Oh, LMR, hope I didn't miss you. Good night. Talk to you soon. I think Varys could be of power too, like perhaps a green seer. Can Varys be a green seer? There's one I've never heard. I've definitely heard him being a merman, but not a green seer. And do you guys, anybody out there think there's mermen in this story? Because remember when Davos at the Battle of Blackwater, Davos got blown off his boat and he was down in the water. And basically he kicked up and the bottom was all sandy and it got all murky. And then all of a sudden, like he was starting to lose breath. He could not figure out what way was up or down. Like he just got lost in the water. He was just there. And basically then he felt something brush by his leg and that really freaked him out. And he tried kicking for the top. But like I said, he didn't know if he was swimming up or down. And basically that chapter ends. Davos realized he was drowning. Now, how did Davos go from being under the water, not knowing which way was up or down, starting to drown and feeling something grabbing his leg, to being on the rocks of the Trident King? How did he get saved? How did he get there? There has to be mermen in the water, right? There has to be a merman. That's what he felt down there. It was like, hey, I'm here to save you. He probably, blew some air into his lungs or whatever, and then took him up to the rocks and put him on the trident or the spear of the Trident King, and the spear of the Merlin King, whatever. And that's where they found Davos, and that's where Davos got saved and then brought back to Dragonstone. But how did Davos get from getting blown off a boat from wildfire, drowning in the black water, and then all of a sudden he's like alive and kicking and wakes up on a pile of rocks? I mean, he didn't float there. It's not like the tide lifted him up there. That was a freaking merman that got my man up there. And Davos is the Walking Dead. You guys should check out my They're All Dead video. Oh, man. Love having fun with Game of Thrones. If you can't have fun with it, why are you here? Let's see. I totally bought the whole Fagon as king when I was reading the books. Yeah, there's no way, Fagon. There's no way. Varys is not a warrior or a hero. And even if he was, there's no way he saves just him and not the girl, Rhaella or Rhaena, and the wife, Elia. Some of us have more special men. Oh, you gotta love a Bubba Husky. Always making him smile. Always Varys is literally talking to the ravens and little birds. He can still sing the raven song. And White, I mean, he has little birds everywhere. He says they sing in the north like they do in the west. He's always had birds up at Winterfell. Is it because he's been looking for something? Is it because he knows something's going down at Winterfell? Did he realize the end game that was going to happen there? I mean, has he already known all along? Is that one of the things that the fire spoke about? And if that's the case, what is he doing there? Wouldn't he stay as far away from there as possible? And do you guys think the castles have anything to do with anything? Like the names of the castles? Like where Winterfell. I was going to do a quick hit of that too. It's like I've always thought Winterfell, or I always thought Winter was the name of Ned Stark's direwolf. I always thought that was another lie that he kept or said, because they said there hasn't been a direwolf south of the wall for hundreds of years. But if that's true, how big is Ice? Ice is like as wide as a man's hand and taller than an adolescent. Like Ice is huge. And do you remember what is Ice's sheath? It's a freaking direwolf. Has anybody else ever noticed that? Like when Ned goes to chop Garrett's head off or Will's head off at the beginning of Game of Thrones, when he goes to pull Ice out, what's he pulling him out of? He's pulling him out of a freaking direwolf. That's not a 100-year-old direwolf. That was like an in-shape direwolf. And I swear I've always thought that that was Winter. And they said, that's where Winter fell because that's probably how Ned's direwolf died. Or maybe it wasn't Ned. Maybe it was like his dad's or his grandpa's or whatever. But he's like, that's where, I guess that could be 100 years. See, here I am trying to figure it out. But yeah, I think that was a Stark direwolf, and that's the sheath that Ice gets pulled out of because there's no wolf that would be big enough that you could stick that long a sword all the way through. It would poke out its backside. So it has to be a direwolf. It has to be something that big. And I think that's almost where Winterfell got its names from. Maybe it was named something else back in the day, and it got called Winterfell because whoever the Lord of the Keeps was had a direwolf, and that direwolf killed the Night's King, and the direwolf fell in that fight, and that's where Winter fell. That was the name of the direwolf, was Winter. But yeah, I just think there's crazy names for the castles for all that stuff. Which means Storm's End, is that where the end of Game of Thrones ends? Because winter is here, the storm is coming, winter is coming. Do they all have to flee south to Storm's End? And is that the magical castle? We know it beat the gods earlier, so-called, when it was first brought up. Does it beat the Night's King and the army to come? Is that, Storm's End? This is where this storm ends, basically. It all ends there at the Baratheon Keep. That'd be kind of cool. And then in the Eyrie, the way Bronn said, give me 12 good spikes and I'll impregnate the bitch, that leads me to believe he's not afraid to climb tall things. He's already said he's been south of the wall. Is the way that Bronn got back and forth over the wall was by climbing it? Did Bronn basically let us know right then and there that he's climbed the wall? And with saying that, when the war to come, if he's not with Jaime, if he's still down south, does he run to the Eyrie and they have it closed off? And does Bronn end up impregnating the Eyrie and climbing up into it for safety to get away from the whites? Wouldn't that be sick? Yeah, there's a bunch of crazy shit that goes through this mind, definitely. Bubba Husky says, I think old Nan's a faceless man. That would be interesting. And she's there basically for the Starks because the Starks have to do with something to do with the Night's King. I mean, that's what she says. So she would know if she's that old and has the knowledge. That'd be sick. Old Nan's a faceless man. I would love that. That's why she's so old and still alive. Everyone names it while they were winning. Mandolin, do any of you think Varys could be a faceless man or working with them or simply a good murmur? Nope. Like I said, I'm 100%. Varys is King's Blood, Varys is a Blackfire, and Varys' whole purpose in this story is to re-put a Blackfire on the throne. And since there's no Fagon in our story, then maybe Varys is actually the Blackfire, that he's actually, when he was talking to the Red Viper in the story, and the Red Viper's like, you don't like boys, you don't like girls, what do you want? And Varys looks up at the Iron Chair. So maybe Varys really does just want to rule. I don't know. It's a possibility. But yeah, it's just like, what is Varys doing sitting up there in the crypts? What is his end game? I've always thought, I mean, it was to put Fagon or Blackfire, any Blackfire, but basically Fagon on the Iron Chair. It's got to be himself in the game or in this. Maybe he thinks everybody else will die. He'll slither away and he'll be able to sit it. Maybe that truly is. What do you guys think in the chat? Is there any way that that's what Varys wants? He really wants just to put himself on there? Or do you believe he just wants somebody else to be the lightning rod and he wants to rule from behind the scenes, like a lot of people think? I like how to block out Varys cuts to kids' tongues out. I kind of like to block out how Varys cuts out kids' tongues. Yeah, the little birds with no tongues, that's no good, so they can't talk. Maybe Nettie's great-great-granddad had a direwolf winter, but I kind of thought that's where the first long night ended there, with the undead Starks and the Crypts killing the others there. Definitely. So that's where Winterfell. Yep, exactly. I just think Winter's the direwolf, and that's where Winterfell and died. But is there going to be what do you guys think in the chat? Is there going to be an Iron Chair by the end of this, or is it just going to be dusted up and smoked, and the Iron Chair is not going to matter? It's just all about surviving the long night. What do you guys think about that? Because I think there's no way it's going to be Dany. She's going to die. I think she's going to die in childbirth. I don't think there's any way it's Jon Snow. He's already dead, so he's got bigger and better things to move on to. Could be Sansa, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know about any of that. But yeah, I just wanted to come on and definitely get it on and start talking a little bit about what people thought about what's going to happen, because there are so many meetups. I mean, what's going to happen when Jaime meets up with Bran? You know, in the books, it always talks about every time Bran tries to think about who pushed him and thinks about the Golden Knight that pushed him out the window, the Three-Eyed Raven was like, no, not that, never that, which means he doesn't want him thinking about that because that just had to happen to get Bran to where he's at. So, I mean, do you guys think there's going to be any kind of backup at all? If there is, I definitely 100% don't think any of it will be from Bran. I think Bran will be totally cool with it. So it has been an hour. I'll actually have a few more things to say. If you guys will just give me a little 3-minute break, I will be right back. And yeah, we will see how this thing's going to end at Winterfell. Just give me 1 second. Did it even put it on? Didn't you see my spit? Oh, yeah, I guess I can see it over there. What's up? What's up? Sorry about that. Everybody watching later, hopefully you just fast forward it once you saw my picture. Sorry, I had to talk to the nurse. What's up, Snafu? You taking the good drugs, keeping the pain away, I hope. Especially looking at the hype photos from the season, you realize that everybody except those two have them. Need to go up. Oh, sorry about that. I had to take a quick break. The captain, had to talk to the captain real quick. Maybe Nettie's got, yep. Heard an interesting theory that whoever gets the throne does not have any POV chapters in the book. Is there any way that they do a switch with the Harry Strickland character? Everybody's like, oh, that's Harry Strickland, that's Harry Strickland. Most people have no idea who Harry Strickland is, so that's them introducing a new character right there, which they basically said they weren't going to do. So that's kind of weird. Is there any way that they pull any kind of switch that Harry Strickland isn't really Harry Strickland, but it's really a Fagon situation or anything like that? You think they try to pull something like that? Or is there just not enough time to do it? And I guess we'll save the Chardane stuff. They don't really talk about it in the show so much. But in the books, they make a big point about how some of the older Stark statues, how their swords have rusted away. And if it's rusted away, that means, and the whole reason that the swords are there are to keep the old ghosts in, or the old Stark spirits in, or whatever. So if they made a point about those rusting away, and even though they didn't say that in the show, we do know that Asha and Bran and Hodor and all them and Mira, they all took swords. So those are there. So basically, is that them letting us know that live Starks are going to be coming through the crypts? And if they do, are they going to be on the good guy side? If dead Starks come back, do they still fight for the living? Or are they going to be on the Night's King side? I mean, Old Nan tells us that the Night King is a Stark. So wouldn't they all be on the same page pretty much? Young Griff. That's what I'm talking about. It's got to be Young Griff. My whole thing is, I believe nothing's 100%, but I'm just positive that they're making such a big deal about Septa Lemora being so beautiful. The only other one they made that big a deal about being so beautiful was Ashara Dane. So that has to be that making that connection. I don't believe Ashara Dane jumped off anything. I do believe she had a baby at the Tower of Joy. I'm just not sure of the combination. But she took that baby. I think she took Lyanna's baby, and Ned took her baby back to Winterfell, which I never thought it, but, I keep leaning towards that Jon Snow is a freaking Dane. I mean, that whole theory, he gets born under the bloody sword or under the bloody sun or whatever. Dawn gets leaned up against the bed after being bloodied by the greatest Dane ever. It just shows, what if Brandon Stark and Ashara Dane had Jon Snow? And that's, because the only thing that ties it in, I would say it's got to be the Mad King, but Ned told us, you may not have my name, but you have my blood. So, we got to take some things for granted. So if Jon Snow has Stark blood, it's got to come from somewhere. I would guess that Brandon and Ashara Dane, because we know at the Tower of Joy, yeah, maybe Brandon went up and asked for Ned to dance with her, but we know that Ned was in his tent later on that night with Howland. They shared a tent that night, so we know they weren't doing anything. We have no idea where Brandon was. So I don't know. I'm saying Brandon and Ashara hooked up. And when what did Ashara mean when she came back in to that the big party the night of the tournament at Harrenhal? When she came in and yelled out Stark, and it said Sir Barristan said it looked like she'd been dishonored, and that's why I always thought, who would have the balls to be up there dishonoring one of the most highborn maids in the realm? My very first theory that I came into YouTube with, it's the Mad King, and I'm going to be redoing that whole thing here in a second too. But maybe it was Brandon. Now, I don't think Brandon, Brandon I don't think is raping anybody. He's pretty much the next Lord of Winterfell. He's the Wild Wolf. He was a stud. He was getting his. I don't think he's out raping anybody. But, so that may be the question, is Jon Snow really Brandon and Ashara's, or is it Mad King and Ashara's? But where would Jon Snow get the blood? But I don't think that I don't think in the end Lyanna is going to be Jon Snow. In the show, sure, 100%. But in the books, I'm not 100%. But if Lyanna is Jon Snow's mom, then the Mad King is going to be the father, not Rhaegar. No way. I'm not buying it. But maybe. He said, absolutely. He's like, what's that, DJ? Oh, absolutely. That's how it's all going down. So what Starks are going to mean? I wonder what Starks are going to come through. Is it going to be Starks we know? Because obviously Starks got to come through the crypts of Winterfell. I just want to know, do they fight for the side of the living, or do they fight for the Night's King? Is the Night King a Stark? And what's even going down with all that? And who the hell is Arya running from her life from? Doesn't that have to be a Stark? You saw in my last video, it's Eddard back, but it's got to be somebody. I mean, Arya doesn't get that scared. So it's either she's running from the Waif, Jaqen H'ghar. I mean, it could be the Night's King, but we haven't really seen the Night's King run after anybody. I don't see him running. He's more regal than that. So it seems like it would have to be a reanimated Stark. You know, maybe it's her headless dad going, "Come here, Arya," and she just flipped out and took off running. I don't know. But I'm so pumped for this season. Who knows where that's going to go. Oh, let's see what some of these other old ones that we went through. Tyrion talking to Jon on the way to the wall said he used to. Yeah, you think that in the books when Tyrion's talking about all those dragon dreams that he used to have, and he used to start fires in the belly of Castle Rock, and he used to, you know, kind of like daydream about burning Tywin and his sister Cersei. Is there any way that Tyrion gets on a dragon and burns Cersei? Is that how Cersei goes down? I mean, he used to have dragon dreams. That's another reason why I kind of think he's a Targaryen. I mean, Targaryens have dragon dreams, and Tyrion used to have dragon dreams when he was younger. Now, of course, Andy said, you know, it's because dragons are cool, and all young kids probably dreamed about dragons. So you could definitely take that. You could take that. But I don't know. The way he used to start fires, and he's just always been absolutely obsessed with dragons. You know, he asked his uncle for a dragon, said it wouldn't even have to be a big one. And the way he used to have daydreams about burning his father and Cersei, he's already killed his father. Does Tyrion jump on a dragon and burn Cersei with a dragon? That would be pretty cool. Now, what if they do a quick flip on us, and we think that it's going to be Jon and Dany jumping on dragons to ride them, but what if Jon doesn't end up jumping on them? The dragon rejects him, and it is Tyrion that ends up going and jumping on him, and that's how we find out that Tyrion actually is a Targaryen. That would bend some people's minds for sure. Because like I said, I've always been on that kick. I 100% think that Tywin was sterile, and all those kids are the Mad Kings. It just would not shock me even a little bit if that's what it turned out to be. And if that's the case, they have Targaryen blood, and any of them would be able to ride a dragon. Yeah, I have got to turn this thing on the chat off that keeps blocking people. I don't know what that is. He did, but he wasn't a dragon snack too. Harry's supposed to be short, stocky, and bald. What's that, DJ? I was stuck on that. Cersei does love death by fire. That would be the perfect way for her to go out. And you know how enthralled she was. Remember in the books, like how just enchanted she was with the wildfire. And of course it would be cool, and everybody was out there watching it. But when she burned the Tower of the Hand, and with the wildfire, like they said, she lit up. Like she was excited. Very, very Targaryen-like. So Jaime's the only one that doesn't really have Targaryen qualities, but if Cersei's a Targaryen, he's got to be a Targaryen because they're twins. The only tower that Ashara jumped off of is the one in Ned's small clothes, reluctantly. Yeah, I don't know. I think everybody, I mean, Sir Barristan's telling the story about that because he was in love with Ashara. Everybody was sprung on Ashara. She was basically the most beautiful maid in the land. So, of course, all of them are talking about her and sprung on her. That doesn't mean that she loved Ned or they hooked up. Ned was one of like 5 people she danced with. She danced with a Dane. She danced with a Griffin, basically John Connington. She danced with, I think that guy Robert was getting drunk with. And then she danced with a Quiet Wolf. So, I mean, she danced with all kinds of people. Why is it Ned she fell in love with? So, and we know that later on she wasn't really with Ned. She was with, because Ned was with Holland Reed in their tent. So who was Ashara with at that time? Probably Brandon, since Brandon was the one that went over and talked to her. She's a Dane. Danes are Dornish. Dornish aren't weak women, as we know. They probably want the wild type, more like the wild wolf. So she would probably be a lot more attracted to Brandon than she ever would be to Ned. So I don't know. I mean, maybe Brandon and Ashara had Jon. That's why Jon's such a great swordsman, because he's a Dane, and he's basically, you know, just like Arthur Dane, he's going to be the next great Sword of the Morning. And that's how Jon Snow is going to save the realm, because he's not a Targaryen. He's the Sword of the Morning, and the Sword of the Morning ends the long night. So Jon Snow keeps going through all these swords, but it'll be Dawn that he ends up with. And maybe in the show that's what they do. Maybe they'll have Dawn down there, because everybody thinks that he's a Targaryen. So that'll be the big kick to show that he's not a Targaryen. He's actually a Dane, and that's what's down in the crypt is Dane. And here's your legacy sword, because you're actually the true Sword of the Morning. That's why Arthur Dane was there. He was protecting his sister, because he knows the next Sword of the Morning is about to be born. Boom. Oh, but you said Ned is a great swordsman. That is true. Ned is a great swordsman that nobody talks about. But nobody is claiming that Ned is Jon Snow's father, so that doesn't really add up. Everybody knows that Arthur Dane. But I guess, yeah, Arthur Dane and Ashara is the same as Ned and... Okay, you got me there, Ned and Lyanna. But the way they talked about it, because they talked about that in the book too. I mean, he came in and they leaned Dawn against the bed. And basically, you know, you're born under a bloody sun or a bloody star or whatever. Basically, Jon Snow being born under a bloody star would be a bloody dawn up against the bed. It kind of links up. Jon Snow, Sword of the Morning. He said Sword of the Morning. I'm claiming it. Jon Snow is a Sword of the Morning. The Sword of the Morning is what saves the long night, or ends the long night. It has to be, right? Or is that a character we haven't seen? And like in the books, Edric Dane is going to be the next Sword of the Morning, and he's going to save everybody. I think Edric Dane was just there to tell Arya and us about what was going on with Ashara and Ned. Yeah, actually didn't. Maybe that is it. I can't remember. I got to go back and read that. But Edric Dane did say something about Ashara. But did he say it specifically? It was Ashara and Ned that were in love? Or Ashara was in love and it was like worded like it was Ned. And we just thought that because his name was Eddard. Yeah, I gotta go back and read that part. Oh yeah. And killing Summer is the blood sacrifice for what? Long night or a new dawn? Killing Summer, the Night's King killed Summer. So the Night's King killing Summer was Summer, the long summer ending, and the long night beginning, is what I would say that is. Ned and Ashara met and fell in love at the tournament at Harrenhal. I don't know if that's where they met. I know that Ned was sprung on her. I know that they danced at Harrenhal. I know that Ned didn't have the guts to go talk to her, that it was Brandon that went and talked to her for Ned and basically asked for Ned to dance. And that's it. Everything else is speculation. So, yeah, to say they met or fell in love at Harrenhal is all speculation. We know they danced at Harrenhal. I'm sure they'd known who they were before that and probably had met at some other major ball before that. I mean, they're a little bit older by then. So, yeah, they'd probably met at some other ball or tournament before this. They were both from two great houses. But, yeah, I don't know. Ashara, Jon Snow being a Dane makes sense. In the show, it'll never happen. They're going with the fan service and what they think. And that's what everybody else says. It's like, if you listened, I would just re-listen to the actual words of that interview. They said, it's Dan and Dave talking, and they said George asked him who Jon Snow's parents was. They paused, looked at each other, looked back at George, answered, and George smiled and greenlit the show. That's all it said. George never said they were right. George never said, voila, you got it. George smiled and said, okay. Another reason George might smile and okay is because, okay, my secret's safe. You guys take your show in whatever direction you want. My book secret is still safe. So everybody that's on that, like, oh, guaranteed D&D, they know the direction, they know the ending, and they know some major points. But they're not 100%. And that's, I believe, the biggest reason why the show has diverged so much from the books, because they don't know. They've gone on what they thought or the outcome they come, which would be just like one of us coming up with our own show. Like, oh, this is what I'm getting. I mean, can you people imagine if I got given the green light on this show and where it would go? Are you kidding me? It'd be in a whole complete different direction. So yeah, this is just D&D's version of the show. This is not where it's going. And it's, I mean, yeah, it's going to have some major points, and the end is going to basically be the same, but it's going to be different 100%. Like, it's not, yeah, it's already diverged so much, I don't think it can come back. I'm pretty sure George has already said there's some major characters that have died that can't die because they have major roles to play. So, yeah, there's a long way to go. D&D don't 100%. Maybe they do, but there's not 100% anything. It's still up for grabs, and who knows? So I think that's why it's still such a big divergent, and that's what's what. But I am excited to see how they finish it, because no matter what, those are my favorite books, and this is my favorite show, and I appreciate both of them for what they are. 100%. To the moon and back, you damn Skippy. I love the nightlife. I like the boogie. Get down. Disco. Afterwards, and went to Elia and Dragonstone, not far from the Vale. Ned and Ashara met and fell in love at the tournament at Harrenhal. Afterwards, she went with Elia to Dragonstone, not far from the Vale. Did Elia go to Dragonstone? When did Elia go to Dragonstone? I don't remember that being a thing. I know supposedly when it was Rhaena or whatever, the Mad King's wife got sent to Dragonstone, and supposedly that's where Dany was born. But I'm leaning more and more that Dany was born in the Tower of Joy, and the storm she was born in was the Storm of Swords. I could be wrong on that, but I'm feeling it. Rock the Casbah, Moni G breaking out all the songs. Taking it back, 80s, 70s, keeping it rolling. Oh man, should I go back and see? Yeah, it was so funny breaking this out. Like all my theories from like 3 years ago is just classic. It's like Stannis knows Davos is a Targaryen. That's why he basically, or from looking at the Book of Bastards, because Jon Arryn shared that information with Stannis, and that's when Stannis took off and left back to Dragonstone, because Stannis and Jon Arryn were looking through that book. Stannis saw the information, and from looking up through the Book of Bastards, he realized that Davos is actually a bastard. So y'all don't even know, but I'm telling you, Davos is a bastard. And if you read Storm of Swords, that's the only reason Melisandre came down there and offered to bring him back to her chambers and said, I could show you such bliss and pleasures. Melisandre only slept with people with king's blood. So obviously Davos has king's blood. Everybody wants to argue with me on that. I'm like, no, Davos has king's blood. I'm trying to tell you. Following the tournament, before the Mad King brought her to King's Landing. Afterwards, she went with Elia to Dragonstone from the Vale, following the tournament before the Mad King brought her to King's Landing. Yeah, I don't remember ever hearing about that. That must be obviously something, a book that you read. Yeah, I don't remember that, Bubba. As far as I know, they just went back to King's Landing, and some people think, like, if the timeline didn't work out, I kind of wrote a real quick timeline, but it's kind of, I don't know. Unless John was born, or John or Dany were born 3 weeks after the fact that they were supposed to. But I had the timeline pretty much down to like just under 10 weeks. So if one of them's birth went a little bit long and not the exact 9 months, it went like 10 months and 3 weeks. I think I have a timeline that would make it fit. But yeah. Or when Ned heard that Rhaegar took Lyanna, and maybe she wasn't pregnant yet, which I think she was. Like I said, I think the Mad King raped her at Harrenhal. But if that's when Rhaegar and them took off and they were still fine, and Ashara Dane was one of Rhaegar's handmaidens, basically. So Brandon, when he came to the King's Landing to demand where Rhaegar is, that's when I guess her and Ashara could have. And that kind of frees up a little, a few more months. But I don't know. I'm more and more. There's a possibility Jon Snow is a Dane, and that would just be crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I'll get these a little bit more in order, and I'll get my next video out, and yeah, we'll talk more about these meetings up at Winterfell and what's going to happen, and if Varys lives, what his end game is going to be. Who's he plotting to put on the throne, or does he just want to sit his own ass on it? And what were the lies? They said, Ned said he's been holding these lies for so many years. That's another reason I think there's a baby swap. It's like, what are the lies? If it was just the lie he did for Jon Snow, that's only a lie. So what were the lies, as in plural, that he was doing? It also says that they found him there holding her. Who's they? If everybody else is dead, who's they? Of course, it's a castle. It could have been help or whatever, but yeah. We'll get more into that on the next one. Like I said, we got after I get my video out, we can talk about that, the Tower of Joy. And even though it's all going down at Winterfell in the series, I think it's going down at the Tower of Joy and Harrenhal. Tower of Joy and Harrenhal are going to be like 85% of our answers. What happened? Why it happened? There's a big reason why we don't know anything about the Danes and what's going on. Are you going to G.O.T. Con of Thrones? No, I will probably be in Vegas. That's right around, it's pretty close to, I think it's right before, actually, the World Series of Poker. And I'm usually saving most of my money for Vegas at that time. But, yeah, if some kind of miracle happens or something happens, I would love to get down there and check that out. Come meet everybody face-to-face. That would be tight. Maybe on the next one, but yeah, right now it's basically all the money is. We already got a house down there. We're going to be renting a house down in Vegas this year, so all the money's kind of going to that right now. But like I said, if we get some great big windfall, maybe, you never know. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for making their way out. Another shout out to my man JD. If you guys haven't subscribed to his channel, make sure you get over there, JD the Dragon. And yeah, other than that, I got a couple of videos, like I said, that are in the works. So definitely get those out this week, and we will be back again next Tuesday night. Definitely give another shout out to Snafu. Make sure everybody sends some well wishes his way. We hope he feels better. I'm sure he'll be back on with us, kicking it again next week, and we'll have the whole crew back together. Maybe get BBM and Pete and get everybody back on here again and get back to rolling. So yeah, everybody make sure you have an absolutely excellent rest of the week. And until we see you next Tuesday, game on.